The greatest mysteries of ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, a land of mystery and intrigue. Its ancient inhabitants were responsible for ushering in and influencing the likes of modern-day religion, mathematics, art, architecture, and government that all went on to inspire the entire world as we know it. The Egyptians also laid claim to cultivating the marvels of engineering, science, and culture throughout the entire globe. It was one of the first highly developed civilizations after ancient Sumeria and Mesopotamia developed around 3500 BC. Two of the earliest civilizations on record that sprung up near the Euphrates and Tigris rivers in what today is known as modern Iraq. Egypt, located not too far away from this region, located at the northern tip of Africa, is situated on a dry coast of northwestern African soil. Like the two previous civilizations before it, having a major river in Egypt was the mainstay of societal development, immensely important to the growth and prosperity of the civilization as a whole. The flowing Nile River marches through the desert landscape, bringing with it luscious and precious water and life into the desert, making the marvels of Egypt another contender for the title, the cradle of civilization. Chapter 1: The Great Pyramids of Giza. Just near Cairo in Giza, the most famous of Egypt's pyramids rise from the desert, constructed more than 4,500 years ago. The pyramids at Giza are huge tombs wherein historical and powerful pharaohs have been buried. But how did the ancient Egyptians build those enormous structures so precisely? The Great Pyramid, the biggest of the three brilliant pyramids at Giza, is made from millions of precisely cut and measured stones weighing at least 4,000 pounds each. Even with today's current cranes and advanced technological production gadgets, constructing a pyramid that length and significance these days is an impossible feat. The tremendous pyramids of Giza, named after three powerful pharaohs, the Pharaoh Khufu, the Pharaoh Khafre, and the Pharaoh Menkaure. Each of these pharaohs having these pyramids so exactly measured that many present-day scholars are currently debating how they had been so precisely constructed. And besides the outer structure of the pyramids, there are intricate chambers on the inside as well. There's also the precise astronomical configuration of the pyramids that is said to line up with the stars of Orion's belt. Some have even speculated that Egypt's pyramid buildings had to have been the craftwork of aliens or outside visitors. Even these days, with all the current tools and technology, scientists still can't pinpoint how the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids to such precise measurements, and so fast, in a time span of only about 20 years. This is how long it took to build each of the majestic pyramids, as it have been noted in certain inscriptions at the site. Hundreds of workers and skilled craftsmen worked to construct these large tombs. Did the ancient Egyptians realize something that we still haven't discovered even in this present time? Did they have the knowledge of engineering and manipulating the elements that we just simply haven't discovered yet? Many scientists agree that the three Great Pyramids of Giza do line up with the stars of Orion's belt, which makes the dimensions, weight, and complexity of the pyramids nonetheless than sheer genius, and amongst the most complicated works that was ever produced in history. A task that cannot be copied even to this day. The exact purpose of the Great Sphinx. Nearby to the infamous pyramids lies another monumental site, the Great Sphinx, half man, half beast. It is debated if the Sphinx is older than the three Great Pyramids that lie at the same site, and some have suggested the large stone sculpture to be as old as 20,000 years. But overall, most scholars would agree that the Sphinx is at least 4,500 years old. Some have said it was commissioned by Khafre as part of the Valley Temple, and the structure is actually the image of Khafre himself. Recent scientific tests conclude that indeed the figure bears a sharp resemblance to Khafre, but it can also be the image of Khafre's father, Khufu. There is no actual inscriptions of any kind on the Sphinx, as to have noted who was responsible for its creation. But later on in its history, a stone plaque was added to the site, right between the Sphinx's two front paws. The large plaque, known as the stele, was commissioned there by the great pharaoh Thutmose, after he and his men were able to successfully dig the Sphinx out of mounds of desert sand that had buried the figure over many years. For years, only the head of the Sphinx was sticking out of the sand, but by removing the layers of build-up debris, a precious body, complete with paws and a tail, had been discovered. On Thutmose's plaque, it had been an inscription alluding to Khafre being the original builder of the Sphinx. But this is not enough to know for sure who was the actual builder, since part of the plaque had been chipped away and lost forever. It is widely debated what exactly was the purpose of the Great Sphinx, but what is known for sure is that the great figure lying for thousands of years in the Egyptian desert represents the majestic power and intellectualism that was present in the African world. Chapter 3: The Purpose of the Valley of the Kings. The Valley of the Kings, also known as the Valley of the Tombs of the Kings, is a famous archaeological site located on the west bank of the Nile River, near the city of Luxor in Egypt. It served as a burial ground for pharaohs and powerful nobles during the New Kingdom period, approximately 1550 to 1070 BCE. The purpose of the Valley of the Kings was to provide a secluded and secure resting place for these important individuals in their journey to the afterlife. The Valley of the Kings was primarily used as a burial site for the pharaohs and high-ranking officials. Prior to its establishment, pharaohs were buried in pyramids. The construction of the pyramids became less popular due to their vulnerability for looting, leading pharaohs to seek alternative burial sites that offered better security and secrecy. The Valley of the Kings provided an ideal location for this purpose. Its remote location in a desert valley, surrounded by rugged cliffs and mountains, made it difficult for tomb robbers to access. Additionally, the natural landscape provided a natural defense against potential threats. The valley's isolation allowed pharaohs to be buried with their treasures and possessions without fear of them being stolen and desecrated. The design and construction of tombs in the Valley of the Kings were carefully planned. The tombs were carved into the rock faces of the valley, creating hidden chambers deep underground. The entrances to the tombs were often concealed or disguised, making them even more challenging for tomb robbers to locate. The Valley of the Kings played a significant role in ancient Egyptian religious beliefs and practices. The Egyptians believed in an afterlife where the deceased would continue their existence in a similar manner to their earthly life. They believed that the pharaohs were divine beings and that their roles as rulers extended beyond death. Therefore, it was crucial to provide them with a proper burial place that reflected their status and ensured their successful transition to the afterlife. By constructing elaborate tombs in the Valley of the Kings, pharaohs aimed to secure their place in the afterlife and maintain their divine status. The grandeur and complexity of these tombs were intended to impress and appease the gods, ensuring the pharaoh's eternal well-being. The Valley of the Kings played a crucial role in ancient Egyptian religious beliefs and practices, ensuring that pharaohs could maintain their divine status even in death. Chapter 4: Mysteries of the Afterlife. The ancient Egyptians had a complex and elaborate belief system regarding the afterlife. They believed that death was not the end of life, but rather a transition to another realm of existence. The afterlife held great importance in Egyptian culture, and their beliefs about it influenced various aspects of their society, including religious practices, burial customs, and the construction of monuments and tombs and temples. The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a continuation of earthly life. They believed that the soul, known as the Ka, or Ka, would leave the body upon death and embark on a journey to the afterlife. However, for this journey to be successful, certain rituals and preparations needed to be performed. One of the most important rituals was the process of mummification. The Egyptians believed that preserving the body through mummification was essential for the soul to recognize and re-inhabit in the afterlife. The process involved removing internal organs, treating the body with preservatives, and wrapping it in bandages. The mummified body was then placed in a coffin or sarcophagus, often accompanied by various funerary goods, such as food, jewelry, and even furniture. The ancient Egyptians believed in judgment after death, where the deceased's heart would be weighed against the feather of Mat, the goddess of truth and justice. This judgment took place in the hall of Mat before Osiris, the god of the afterlife. If the heart was found to be lighter than the feather, it meant that the deceased had led a virtuous life and would be granted eternal life in paradise, known as the field of reeds. However, if the heart was heavier due to wrongdoing or sins committed during life, it would be devoured by a monstrous creature called Amit, resulting in eternal punishment. The belief in afterlife influenced various aspects of Egyptian society. The construction of monumental tombs such as the pyramids and rock-cut tombs in the Valley of the Kings was a reflection of their belief in life after death. These tombs were designed to protect and preserve the body and its associated funerary goods. The ancient Egyptians believed in an afterlife where the soul would continue its existence. They believed in judgment after death, with rewards for a virtuous life and punishments for wrongdoing. The preservation of the body through mummification, funerary rituals, and offerings played a crucial role in ensuring a successful journey to the afterlife. Their beliefs influenced various aspects of Egyptian culture and society, leaving behind a rich legacy of monumental tombs and religious practices. Chapter 5: The Origins of Hieroglyphics. The origins of hieroglyphics can be traced back to ancient Egypt, where they were used as a system of writing. Hieroglyphics are pictorial symbols that represent words or sounds, and they were an integral part of Egyptian civilization for over 3,000 years. The earliest known examples of hieroglyphs date back to around 3200 BCE, during the early dynastic period of Egypt. However, it is believed that the development of this writing system began even earlier, possibly during the late pre-dynastic period around 4000 BCE. The exact origins of hieroglyphs are still debated amongst scholars, but there are several theories that prove insights into their origin. One theory suggests that hieroglyphs evolved from earlier symbolic systems used by ancient Egyptians. These early symbols were simple drawings or signs that represented objects or concepts. Over time, these symbols became more standardized and developed into more complex writing systems with phonetic elements. Another theory proposed that hieroglyphs were influenced by Mesopotamian cuneiform script. The ancient Egyptians had contact with Mesopotamia through trade and cultural exchange, and it is possible that they borrowed certain elements from the cuneiform script. However, hieroglyphs have distinct characteristics and a unique structure that sets them apart from cuneiform. The decipherment of hieroglyphs was a significant breakthrough in understanding ancient Egyptian culture and history. The credit for deciphering hieroglyphs goes to Jean-Francois Champollion, a French scholar who made the breakthrough in 1822. Champollion studied the Rosetta Stone, a stele inscribed with a decree in 3 scripts: hieroglyphic, demotic, a simplified script used for everyday purposes, and Greek. By comparing the Greek text with the hieroglyphic inscriptions, Champollion was able to identify common elements and eventually decipher the hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs played a crucial role in ancient Egyptian society. They were primarily used for monumental inscriptions on temples, tombs, and other important structures. Hieroglyphic text provided information about religious rituals, historic events, and the lives of pharaohs and nobles. They were also used for administrative purposes, such as recording inventories and keeping accounts. The hieroglyphic script could be written in different directions, including left to right, right to left, and top to bottom. Chapter 6: The Lost City of Heracleion. Heracleion was an ancient city located on the west bank of the Nile River, near the modern-day city of Alexandria, Egypt. It was once a thriving metropolis, but it vanished into the sands of time, leaving behind only a few remnants of its former glory. Despite its obscurity today, Heracleion was an important center of commerce, religion, and culture during the Hellenistic period, and its story is a fascinating tale of rise and fall. Heracleion was founded in the 7th century BC by the Greek colonizers who had came to Egypt to establish trade and cultural ties with the local population. The city was named after the legendary hero Heracles in Roman mythology, who was revered by the Greeks and the Egyptians. Over time, Heracleion grew into a significant urban center, attracting merchants, artisans, and scholars from all over the Mediterranean world. The city's strategic location on the Nile River made it an important hub for trade and commerce, particularly in the lucrative grain trade between Egypt and Greece. Heracleon's prosperity also led to the development of a rich cultural scene, with temples, theaters, and public buildings that reflected the blending of Greek and Egyptian architectural styles. Despite its prosperity, Heracleion began to decline in the 4th century AD, as the Roman Empire rose to power and the city's trade routes were disrupted, and its ruins were buried under the shifting sands of the desert. For centuries, the location of Heracleion was forgotten, and it was believed to be a mere legend. However, in the 20th century, a team of French archaeologists discovered the remains of Heracleion beneath the modern-day city of Thonis, Heracleion, which was built on top of the ancient city's ruins. Excavations have revealed a wealth of artifacts, including sculptures, jewelry, and other items that provided insights into the daily life of the city's inhabitants. Chapter 7: The Mystery of the Thera Eruption. The Thera eruption, also known as the Minoan eruption, was a catastrophic volcanic event that occurred around 3,600 years ago on the island of Thera, modern-day Santorini, in the Aegean Sea. This eruption is considered one of the largest volcanic events in recorded history, and it had significant impact on both the local region and surrounding civilizations, including Egypt. The eruption of Thera is believed to have taken place during the late Bronze Age, around the 17th or 16th century BCE. The exact date of the eruption is still a subject of debate, with the various proposed dates ranging from 1627 to 1500 BCE. The eruption was a highly explosive event, resulting in the formation of a large caldera and the release of massive amounts of volcanic ash and gases into the atmosphere. The ash fallout from the Thera eruption reached Egypt and is recorded in ancient Egyptian texts. The event is mentioned in the Ipuwer papyrus, which describes a series of natural disasters and social upheaval. The volcanic ash may have had adverse effects on agriculture and caused temporary climate change in Egypt. The tsunamis generated by the eruption affected coastal regions throughout the eastern Mediterranean. Coastal cities and settlements in modern-day Turkey, Israel, and Lebanon were hit by massive waves, causing great destruction and loss of life. Chapter 8: The Cause of the Sudden Decline in Ancient Egyptian Civilization. The sudden decline of the ancient Egyptian civilization is a complex and debated theory. There is no single cause that can be attributed to the decline, but rather a combination of factors that contributed to the downfall of this once powerful civilization. One of the key internal factors that led to the decline of ancient Egypt was the political instability. Throughout its history, Egypt experienced periods of strong centralized rule, but also periods of weak pharaohs and fragmented governance. The power struggles amongst different factions within the ruling elite weakened the central authority and made it difficult to maintain control over the vast territory of Egypt. Another internal factor was economic decline. Egypt's economy heavily relied on agriculture, particularly the cultivation of wheat along the Nile River. Over time, the soil became exhausted due to the intensive farming practices, leading to the decreased agricultural productivity. This resulted in food shortages and economic hardships for its population. Furthermore, social unrest and civil unrest also played a role in its decline. The growing gap between the rich and the poor, coupled with high taxes imposed by the ruling elites. All this led to a discontent among the lower classes. This unrest sometimes escalated into revolts and uprisings, further destabilizing the society. External factors also contributed to the decline of ancient Egypt. One significant factor was the invasions and foreign conquests. Throughout its history, Egypt faced numerous invasions from neighboring civilizations, such as the Libyans, Nubians, Assyrians, Persians, Greeks, and the Romans. These invasions weakened Egypt's military power and disrupted its political stability. The invasion of the Sea Peoples during the Late Bronze Age is often considered a major turning point in Egyptian history. These mysterious groups from various regions attacked Egypt's eastern Mediterranean coast and caused widespread destruction. Although Egypt managed to repel these invaders, it left a lasting impact on its military capabilities and weakened its influence in the region. Environmental factors also played a role in the decline of ancient Egypt. The Nile River was the lifeblood of the civilization, underwent natural changes over time. Fluctuations in the river's water levels and shift in its course affected agricultural productivity and disrupted the economy. Additionally, climate change may have contributed to the decline. Some evidence suggests that a period of prolonged drought occurred during the late Bronze Age, leading to reduced agricultural output and increased pressure on resources. This would have put additional strain on the already struggling society. It is important to remember that these factors did not act independently, but rather interacted and reinforced each other, ultimately leading to the downfall of this once great and mighty civilization. Chapter 9: The Origin of Egyptian Religion. The origin of ancient Egyptian religion is a complex and multifaceted topic that has never been subject to much scholarly debate and research. The ancient Egyptians believed in a multitude of gods and goddesses who were responsible for the creation and maintenance of the universe. As well as the cycles of nature and human existence. The earliest known evidence of ancient Egyptian religion dates back to the pre-dynastic period around 5500 to 3100 BCE, during which time the Egyptians worshipped a variety of local gods and goddesses who were believed to have control over various aspects of nature and human life. These early deities were often associated with natural phenomena, such as the sun, moon, and rivers, and were revered as powerful forces that could bring fertility, health, and prosperity to the people. As the Egyptian civilization developed and grew, the multitude of gods and goddesses expanded to include a wide variety of other gods or deities, each with their own specific domains and responsibilities. Some of these important gods and goddesses of this period included Ra, the sun god; Isis, the mother goddess; Osiris, the god of the afterlife; and Anubis, the god of mummification and afterlife. One of the key features of ancient Egyptian religion was the belief in the concept of Mat, which referred to the balance and harmony of the universe. The Egyptians believed that the gods and goddesses were responsible for maintaining Mat, and human beings had a duty to uphold it through their actions and behaviors. This belief in Mat was reflected in the Egyptian concept of justice, which emphasized the importance of fairness, equality, and respect for the law. Another important aspect of ancient Egyptian religion was the belief in the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that the soul, or Ka, was immortal and would continue to exist after death, and that the body had to be preserved during mummification and burial in order to ensure the soul's continued existence. The Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers written on papyrus, was believed to provide guidance and protection for the deceased on the journey through the afterlife. In conclusion, the origin of ancient Egyptian religion can be traced back to the early religious beliefs and practices of the pre-dynastic period, which was influenced by the natural environment and the cycles of nature. These beliefs and practices eventually evolved and developed over time. shaped by the cultural and political developments of Egyptian civilization, and were characterized by a complex array of gods and goddesses. A belief in Ma'at, and a strong regard for the afterlife. In conclusion, the origin of ancient Egyptian religion can be traced back to early religious beliefs and practices in the pre-dynastic period, which was influenced by the natural environment and the cycles of nature. These beliefs and practices eventually evolved and developed over time, shaped by the cultural and political developments of Egyptian civilization, and were characterized by a complex array of gods and goddesses, a belief in Ma'at, and a strong regard for the afterlife. These are the greatest mysteries of ancient Egypt.